with you. There's a term called radical unschooling, which is the term that they used when we were on the Dr. Phil show to explain what we were doing. Now, the other name for radical unschooling is whole life unschooling. And what radical unschooling is extending unschooling philosophy into more areas other than just education. Now, unschooling, one of the bases of unschooling is the trust that we have for our children to learn without having to force them to learn things. And the same concept is true with radical unschooling for other areas like food or bedtimes or television or all these kind of hot topics that come up. Parents think that if they don't totally control their children in mainstream culture and put limits and rules on everything, that children will totally overindulge and will make bad choices for themselves. But radical unschoolers know that this isn't the case. Now, if you've been raised to believe that control is the only way, the only other thing that we know are all the kind of the worst case scenario fears that people kind of use to have a more controlling parenting mindset, meaning that people think the only other option, what will happen if you don't use that mindset, I should say, is that you're going to swing totally to the other side, and it's going to be chaos. Children are going to be staying up till 4 in the morning and eating tons of junk food all the time and watching TV all day and doing quote-unquote nothing. But that's really not true. When you don't have limits on things, it's amazing how children just naturally balance, just like an adult would. I mean, I don't have limits for my husband as far as how long he's going to watch TV. I know if I told him he could only watch TV for an hour a day, he sure as heck would try to just push against that, and he'd be watching it for a lot more than that just because I told him that he could only watch it for an hour a day. It's kind of that same mindset, that I trust my kids. It's not that I think when people hear no limits, the only other thing they really understand is that it's going to be anarchy or it's going to be just craziness, but it's not at all. It's very balanced. If you can picture a pendulum, and on one side, mainstream parenting, really controlling, and on the other side, complete hands-off parenting, where the children run around crazy and do whatever they want, and that's the only other option that people can see because that's all their culture has really taught you. But what radical unschooling is totally in the middle. It's very balanced. It's very natural. It's very respectful. It's understanding that children are people too, and if we can extend the same mindset or same respect we have for our partners to our children, instead of feeling as though that we need to train them. I think in our culture we do look at children, mainstream parenting looks at children almost like they're dogs, or that we train them like dogs. I don't mean that to be degrading, or I don't mean to hurt people's feelings or anything by saying that, but I'm serious when I say that we think that we have to train them by rewarding them and punishing them and by saying good job all the time to everything, hoping that we're going to get more of that behavior. That's really unnatural. And if you think about the way that you talk to your partner, can you imagine your partner sweeping out the garage and then them coming in and you saying, "Great job, honey, thank you so much, good job." Feel inside you, how condescending that sounds, how fake. What would your partner say to you? They'd be like, "Okay, well, yeah, thanks a lot, hon." I mean, why not just say, "Oh, thank you so much." So when my kids do something I appreciate, instead of going, "Great job, Devin, what a good boy you are," like our culture says you need to do, I just say, "Oh, thanks, buddy, that was awesome, I really appreciate it." Now, because that's sincerely what I feel. I'm not going through this script of what culture tells me I have to do. That's kind of really removes you from that whole connection and that whole interaction, because you're kind of putting yourself in the position of your child's trainer. This mindset totally is so different. It's so respectful, so natural, and once you really understand it, it's so non-forced. It just is such a wonderful connecting way. So it's a partnership with your child. I've talked about that in other YouTube broadcasts, that we're our child's partners. We're there to support them. We are not their molders. We are not their trainers. We don't look at ourselves like that. And we have this mutual respect. Well, it doesn't mean that it's totally child-led. Again, if you picture a pendulum, I like the pendulum theory. On one side, you picture that being mainstream parenting being really parent-led, the parent making all the decisions and punishing and rewarding and so forth. People think that if you don't have that, then it totally swings to the other side and you're totally child-led. And some people, new coming to this life, kind of know what not to do. They know that they don't want to be the controlling mainstream type of parent. So they kind of drop that, and then they throw everything in their child's hands to make all the decisions and to kind of run everything, or be totally child-led, and that's not right either. That doesn't work either. I mean, you have to find, and that's like the first step though. I mean, I think like if you're in that mindset, it can be really frustrating. People can think that this life doesn't work because their needs aren't getting met. Their child's making all the decisions. They're doing every single thing their child wants all the time. They're running up and down the stairs, getting things, running to the store, getting candy bars. I mean, they basically don't exist. And the child learns that the parent doesn't matter either, kind of in that scenario. So it's not that either. It's usually the first step to get to this lifestyle. People drop what they don't want. But what you have to do now is learn how to find that mutual place, how to find that middle ground between both sides of the pendulum, that wonderfully balanced place where everyone's needs are met. It's my job as a radical unschooling parent to find win-win situations, to get creative and find ways to meet everybody's needs simultaneously, not just my needs, not swung way over the other way to just the child's needs, to everybody's needs simultaneously. Now this does take more time, it takes creativity, but when you learn to live that way, it kind of clicks into autopilot, and you always think like that after a while, that, okay, how is everyone's needs going to get met in this situation? And it takes some support. It takes definitely immersing yourself in this lifestyle, connecting with other people living this way. I think if you have a partner who may not really get this yet, understand that this does take some time. It takes educating yourself about it. It's not the child that has to change to live in a respectful mindset. It's the parent. You have to read articles. The best way to understand the philosophy of radical unschooling is to attend an unschooling conference, really, to see. When you go to one, you realize that all these people are just so amazing and so peaceful and so unique and so diverse and so calm and not totally crazy. I mean, there are, when I say totally crazy, I mean totally, like I think mainstream people would think that we were. Like, kids are just running around screaming and just chaos. That's how a lot of our parents, like my mother pictured it initially to be, and before she really understood it. But you just see that just the peaceful respect, and by modeling respect and not being condescending and not putting yourself in a position to kind of train your children like dogs, to put yourself in a position where you're very respectful. Children know that you're modeling that to them, and they are respectful in return. So much anger and resentment builds up in the concept of like timeouts and spanking and any kind of forced punishment like that. Even though the child, you don't see it because you're not allowing that anger to come out, it's there and it will come out in other ways. That you're treating them badly, you're treating them negatively, and you're going to get that back. And so it just turns into the cycle of bad behavior on a child's part, But anyway, so it's my job to look at my child's needs under the behavior. If my kids are acting a certain way, I take into account that there's certain things that are age-appropriate behavior, age-appropriate way that they're acting, and I look at the needs under the behavior, where our culture pretty much solely looks at behavior. Alrighty, well, I hope this gives you a little more insight into radical unschooling and, making the recommendation of connecting with other unschoolers. If you need to find out if there's any other unschoolers in your area, you can email me. I'd be happy to give you some information about your local unschooling groups to connect you with other people, because it's really important to immerse yourself in this life more than just listening to YouTube broadcasts. We want to read, you want to connect with unschooling support groups, you want to go to conferences. I mean, and once you're kind of there and you're immersed in the life, you understand it, and you will just pick it up, and you'll just do it. So it is kind of hard at first to change the way that you parent, but once you do, it'll be so worth it, and you'll be living this wonderful, joyous life that you've always wanted with your kids. And we live such a happy life every single day, and just learn together and chase our passions. And I'm not saying that there's never any tears shed or anything, because children, they do cry sometimes and get upset and angry, but I'm right there to support them, and we just love our life. So I'm just basically here to share with people another great option to live, and I'd love to help anyone that wants my help. So email me anytime, any more questions, and I'll jump on here and I'll do the best I can to answer them. So have a great night. Thanks for listening.